good evening, this is Hound Dog Steve coming to you on the 7th of March. And debt, and the damage that debt can do. That's what we're going to be talking about this evening. And in the meantime, a warm welcome to all of my returning viewers and any new people who might be joining me this evening to join the conversation. And it's good to see you here, very good to see you here. We're actually moving towards 17,000 subscribers, so a great big shout out goes out to all of you who've been clicking that big red button, which really does help. Now, what I wanted to talk about is a sheriff's warning in an Appalachian town in America, and it is a pretty dire warning. But you know, when you look at the underpinning problems, you can see that this is something that could be unfolding just about everywhere, all over, in fact, the world. And it's also what's behind the Yellow Vest protests is that debt and inflation is catching up with everybody. And the municipality that I live in, for example, is now $125 million in debt. There's only 72,000 people, men, women and children, who live in this municipality, and they keep increasing the debt by around about $10 to $15 million every year. And this is completely unsustainable. And when the benefits of the debt have worn off, which are temporary, and sadly an awful lot of the debt has been gone in consulting and contracting out. So these are foolish practices to put yourself in debt for. And as I say, long after the benefits, any benefits of this debt have been felt, we will be left with the max, we're going to the max, $200 million debt. And we haven't even considered unfunded liability like the pensions of the workers that are now retiring en masse because we're in the baby boomers. I don't know where this money is going to come from, because taxes have reached a point, certainly in the city of Quarter Lakes, where they really can't go any higher. Water and sewer bills can't really go any higher, although they're going to push them higher. We're looking at somewhere between a 3 and 4% increase in property taxes again this year, on top of the 17% increase we've had over the last 4 years. And so you can see this municipality heading in the same direction. You know, we have the OPP here and the Lindsay local police, and they are horrendously expensive. So only time will tell how this is going to play out across America. But I can tell you that debt tends to act exponentially. So in the beginning, it's very easy to get into debt. And anyone who's my age, and of course everyone my age, I think, has had some kind of debt issue in their life. And you realize how easy it is. You don't, in the beginning, you really just don't feel the effects of the debt. And then it's really down the road as it starts to build up, the interest starts to build up, and you know, as I say, you've lost the benefit of the things that you purchased with that debt, and now you're just saddled with the payment. And if you get hit with a rumble, like a layoff or cut back in time, you know, maybe you lose all of your overtime, this kind of stuff, it can spell disaster. Anyway, let's flip over to this article. It's only a short article, and then we'll come back and we'll do a quick wrap-up. Okie dokie, here we go. End of the American dream. Rural sheriff's ominous warning to citizens. Lock your doors, load your guns, and get you a barking, biting dog. Is this a sign of what is coming for the rest of the nation? In Martin County, Kentucky, times are very tough right now. Thanks to severe budget cutbacks, there are only 2 paid law enforcement officers covering a deeply impoverished 231 square mile area that sits right in the heart of America's raging opioid crisis. Needless to say, Martin County Sheriff John Kirk feels greatly outnumbered by the thieves, sexual predators and drug dealers that he has to contend with on a daily basis, and he recently issued this very ominous warning to the citizens of his county. Before making a wave of cutbacks across his department, Martin County Sheriff John Kirk delivered a grim warning to residents of this hardscrabble Appalachian community. Law enforcement as we have known it for the last 4 years will not exist, he posted on Facebook last month. We are broke. Lock your doors, load your guns, and get you a barking, biting dog. If the sheriff's office cannot protect you, who will? So why can't Martin County afford more law enforcement officers? Well, like so many other local communities all across America right now, they are deep in debt and flat broke. The county has accumulated $1.4 million in debt, a surprise to many of its new officials. "I don't sleep well," said Susan Hale, the county's new treasurer, who's sifting through the bills left by the previous administration. $230,000 to a regional jail that houses its inmates, $140,000 to a state association that provides liability insurance, plus dribs and drabs for mundane items such as office supplies and toilet paper. As economic conditions continue to deteriorate, we're going to hear a lot more stories like this all over the country. As the truth is that things will ultimately be far worse in our major cities than in our rural areas. Just take a look at Chicago. Today it is a war zone, and the growing poverty in the city has fueled the rapid growth of criminal gangs. According to a study conducted at the University of Illinois at Chicago, approximately half of the city was considered to be middle income in 1970, but now that number has dropped to just 16%. Those middle income areas are confined mostly to the corners of the city and to thin strips between areas of wealth and poverty. Those numbers are absolutely staggering. Right now, there are about 12,000 law enforcement officers and more than 100,000 gang members in the city of Chicago. I'm going to repeat that again. Right now, there are 12,000 law enforcement officers and more than 100,000 gang members in the city of Chicago. That means that the gang members outnumber the police by an almost 10-to-1 margin. Things are not quite as bad in other major cities, but trouble is definitely brewing. For example, the murder rate in New York City is up 37% so far this year, and more gang members are moving in with each passing day. Philadelphia has also seen the murder rate rise substantially, and this is something that Jim Quinn commented on his most recent article. Facts are always inconvenient to welfare state Democrats, but the ignorance of their constituents is what keeps them in power. The narrative of Philadelphia getting safer is obliterated by the 351 murders in 2018, up 43% since 2013, and the highest level since 2007. Assaults involving a gun totaled 2,327, up 13% since 2014. There were over 14,000 violent crimes and 63,000 robberies and thefts in 2018. The vast majority of these crimes occur in West and North Philadelphia. As local news stories lead with multiple murders and shootings every night, average of 4 shootings per day. If things are this bad already, what are things going to look like when economic conditions get really bad? We live at a time when Americans are becoming increasingly pessimistic, and even though economic conditions have been relatively stable in recent years, the combined national death rate from alcohol, drugs and suicide has been steadily rising. Feelings of hopelessness and despair are overwhelming many in the US, so much so that people are turning to alcohol, drugs and suicide to numb the pain of their lives. Government enslavement and the stranglehold on the economy are making life even more difficult on those already struggling to get by, and this is seen in new death numbers released. The national rate for deaths from alcohol, drugs and suicide rose from 43.9% to 46.6 deaths per 100,000 people in 2017, a 6% increase. The Trust for America's Health and the Wellbeing Trust reported Tuesday. That was a slower increase than in the previous 2 years, but it was greater than the 4% average annual increase since 1999, reported USA Today. The big reason why people are turning to alcohol, drugs and suicide to deal with the pain in their lives is because they don't have any hope. And as this country continues to literally fall apart around us, unfortunately a lot more Americans are likely to give in to anxiety, depression and despair. If we want to turn this nation around, we need to act now. Illegal immigration has been one of the biggest factors behind the explosive growth of gang violence in America, and a new report in the Washington Times is telling us that the number of people trying to come across our borders illegally is currently at an all-time high. Illegal immigration continues to break records on the southwestern border, and they're not good ones. The number of families snared trying to sneak into the US soared by 50% in 1 month alone, setting an all-time record with more than 36,000 family members apprehended, Homeland Security officials announced Tuesday. The government has also encountered some 70 groups of at least 100 migrants during the first 5 months of the fiscal year, shattering records and placing new challenges on Border Patrol agents. Bad choices lead to bad consequences, and we've been making really bad choices for a very long time. If we are not able to reverse course as a nation, you may want to take Sheriff Kirk's advice and lock your doors, load your guns, and get you a barking, biting dog. And Zero Hedge Retail Apocalypse continues. Dollar Tree closing up to 390 stores. The retail apocalypse is now in full swing. As consumers drift towards the ease of online shopping, bricks and mortar stores begin to close up. Dollar Tree is the latest in a wave of companies announcing they will be closing several hundred stores in the following months. Dollar Tree reported a $2.3 billion loss, which has propelled the company to announce store closures and renovations. Dollar Tree plans to close 390 Family Dollar stores this year while renovating 1,000 other locations. So when you look down the stories in Zero Hedge, they are all warnings of Deutsche Bank in trouble, more quantitative easing in Europe by Mario Draghi, debt issues in England, in Italy, in Greece, in Venezuela, and I'm talking serious debt issues, where basically the consumer has hit the wall. And of course there is this other story about the Dollar Tree closing 390 stores, and that in itself is a warning. If the Dollar Tree, if a dollar store is having hard times, how hard can it be out there? I mean, usually things like dollar stores thrive under bad economic times. New car sales have fallen off a cliff, and used car sales have gone through the roof. So all of your auto manufacturers are going to be suffering in the first and second quarters of this year. And of course Canada has basically issued now a warning that we've gone into a very, very quick slowdown in the last quarter of 2018, and our growth was a measly 0.4%. So we're skirting recession in Canada too, and just at a time when the carbon tax is about to kick in, which will ripple through every sector in Canada. It means every aspect of your life is going to increase in cost. And of course one of the things that is really concerning me is the fact that many of these young people who have overbought in real estate have actually been using HELOC loans, these are home equity lines of credit, to make the mortgage payments. This is absolutely insane. If you're borrowing money to make mortgage payments, or increasing your mortgage to make mortgage payments and property tax payments and water bill payments, what on earth are you going to do when property values stop rising and interest rates start going up, which they are? Although Bank of Canada again have issued warnings, they've held the prime rate as it is at 1.75, and they're going to be reviewing that in the fall. But because of this equity situation, I think people don't realize that, it seems like free money. When you take equity out of your home, it sounds like free money, but it's not. You are increasing the amount of money that you owe to the mortgage company. And so when you finally can't do that, when you finally can't take the equity out of your home, you will start paying the full cost, and that's when the chickens will come home to roost, and we could really see a very serious downturn very, very quickly if that were to happen. So we'll keep you posted on this situation, and yes, take heed my friends. Okie dokie, you take care. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe below, and in the meantime, this is Hound Dog Steve signing off, wishing you a great weekend coming up, and we will talk to you very, very soon. See you now. Bye.